Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be what I still consider just like a classic favorites video. I know that those have kind of fallen out of fashion, but like literally it's just me yapping to you about things for half an hour or so. So if you want like to get a little beverage or something, take a seat, get comfortable. We're talking about shows, movies, and books. Pretty much primarily in this one. I think I only have 2 physical things to show you. Actually, let's just start with the 2 physical things, okay? So this first one is actually a makeup product. And it's this new, like, sort of lip balmy product by Laneige. So it's called the Glaze, Craze Tinted Lip Serum. It's very similar to the glossy bombs that they already have. But these ones were launched in sort of like nudie shades. So mine is in the shade Cinnamon Sugar. It is what I'm wearing right now. I knew from the first moment I saw these sort of teased on Trend Mood that I was going to buy one. Because Laneige lip products are one of, I think, the best on the market. They really hydrate my lips so deeply in a way that other products don't. They often feel like they're kind of getting to those underlayers rather than just sitting on top. They don't have that sort of like waxiness that a standard lip balm does, which sometimes I love, but it doesn't penetrate the way I need it to. So a sort of tinted one that's tinted with like a nudie tone is what I knew I wanted. They have one that's darker than this, that's sort of brown, and I thought I wanted that one, and then I really thought about it, and this one with the sort of pinker tint felt more me, and then, like, the moment they were available in stores, I went and bought one, and I pretty much just wear this to work every day. Like, I'm wearing more makeup today than I usually do, but usually I just fill in my eyebrows, put on mascara, and put this on, and that's how I go to work. I love it. No notes. It's perfect. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is a craft that I did, okay? So all the girlies on TikTok and on Book Talk and that sort of thing, which we're going to talk about as well. Oh, I also made this case for my Kobo. Isn't it cute? Yeah. But anyway, they all have, like, clear cases for their e-readers, and then they put, like, stickers and stuff in the back, okay? I wanted to do that, but you know me, I have a problem with stickers and using them, and but then I remembered that I've been hoarding all of this cute scrapbooking paper from Michael's for, like, literally years. And then I was like, wait, why don't I just make an insert for the clear case? So I made this insert that's, like, books on shelves. And then I made a whole bunch of inserts. And I've been keeping them in the Kobo case with the sleeve cover. Just to kind of protect them a little bit. So, like, there's this one with books. This one with books. I did make a witch hat one. This one's sort of like for the next time I read a horror book, because it's kind of creepy looking. It's like creepy, bloody paper. This sort of witchy one. This one of ladies reading books. And then this witchy one. Like, I just went through all of the paper that, like I said, I've been hoarding for years. And picked some of my favorites. And made inserts. And it didn't even occur to me while I was making them that, like, I can switch out the insert for whichever book I'm reading. And, like, make it a whole themed thing. And not have to have 6 million cases. It's just so much fun. Okay? I love that. That's, like, my fave. I'm so excited about my little themed inserts for my Kobo case. And because I have the case for my Kobo now that I made, I don't have to worry about the front getting scratched because the clear case doesn't have a cover. I don't know, we're just living my best life. My Kobo that I bought last July is still one of my favorite expensive purchases. I use it all the time. I really thought that maybe I just had grown up to be a girl that doesn't like to read, even though I read so much in my youth. But it's just that, I know I was watching a Rachel Oates video the other day as well about reading and sort of... Here's the thing, like, I get the vibe sometimes that some of these, like, book talk people don't actually like to read, right? Because they complain about, like, there being lots of words on pages and some things that are sort of, that seem sort of silly to me, but are really harmless at the end of it. Like, you do you, read what you want to read. And I think really what has happened, if I may, is that we all just become so burdened. We're so stressed. There's so many things that I personally feel like I didn't want to take the time to sit down and read because I felt like I had too many other things to do, and if I wasn't doing something that felt productive, it wasn't worth it. And I'm really trying to unlearn that because reading it's good, and I do also love listening to audiobooks, but I feel like reading a book activates different, like, centers in my brain, right? So I'm really trying to do that as well as audiobooks, of course. And I don't know, and, like, I love a literary, beautifully written book, but I also love more simple books that are written in more plainer language. I love both. I'm not really a fan of, like, when they wax on forever about, like, describing intricacies of scenery or architecture or something, because I just don't have a creative enough brain to be able to visualize it that well. Like, tell me the house is white and that's as far as I'm gonna go. Like, or like tell me it's like maybe stucco on the outside or if it's paneling, but I don't need like to know exactly what spots it's chipped. You know what I mean? So I think that was my problem when I was a kid and I tried to read Lord of the Rings. Admittedly, I was way too young to try to read Lord of the Rings. It was above my sort of brain level at that point. But I remember I eventually like put it down and never picked it back up again because I felt like Tolkien spent way too long describing like hills and trees and stuff, and then he'd be like, oh yeah, and then here's Tom Bombadil. He's just a dude. Maybe I'd appreciate it more now as an adult, and I definitely have it on my audiobook to listen to list. But that's kind of more my reading style. But sometimes I feel like TikTok is trying to say that, but they end up just basically talking about how they only want books that are like smut right away, and that's not really my vibe. I usually like double speed through those sections if it's audiobook because I just don't want to read stuff like that. I mean, I'm too prudish. But yeah, I really love reading, and I feel like my Kobo has reignited my love of reading. And when I was a kid and we used to go to my stepdad's cottage every year, there was like this cute little like very Hallmark looking like bookstore with a little cafe in the back, and we used to go there and I would buy so many books and I would read them all while we were there. Like, we were only there for a week or sometimes 2 weeks, and I would read all of these books, and I feel like it's sort of getting me back there. According to Goodreads, I'm 2 books ahead on my goal for the year. I only set my goal at 20 books, which is extremely achievable, and I've read I think 5 at this point. That includes audiobooks, which, like I said, it counts as reading. It does, but for me, I feel like it doesn't activate the same parts of my brain. So I prefer counting just read books, but it counts both, so whatever. I'm on number 10 now. I'm just starting number 10 of the House of Night series. If you've missed my rants on that, the House of Night series is a vampire book series that I started when I was a youth. They're horrifically written. I do not recommend them in the slightest, okay? But I have to finish them. Now that I've started, I have to finish them because there's only 12 books. I'm about to start number 10, and I think number 10 is the first whole book that I didn't read when I was younger, because when I looked it up, number 10 came out in the latter half of 2012. I would have been in college already at that point. Like, that would have been my first year of college, so I know I didn't read it. And the second half of number 9, I didn't really remember much of what was going on, so I think I, like, put it down and never picked it back up again some point in there. So at least now, even if the writing is terrible, I'm getting things I haven't got before, and I'm going to finish them. I'm going to get through them. I just finished Legends and Lattes the other day. It took me far too long to finish it, even though it's only like 250 pages, because I like to read at night, but I just kept falling asleep. But that book was really good. I really highly recommend Legends and Lattes if you're looking for just like a cozy, easy read that's, fun and not too high stakes. Like, I really was a little bit afraid it would have lost points in my book if, I was getting towards the end of the book and I was like, is anything gonna happen? Like, I was sort of afraid that there was gonna be like no negative event in the whole book. You get one eventually, but I was a little afraid that it was just gonna be like happy the whole time. It isn't. Something bad does happen, but then it obviously gets corrected. It's fine. I really liked it. I'm gonna read at some point the second one, and then the third one when it comes out later this year. I'm in no rush to read the second one. I'll wait till then, because everything that I do right now is kind of like, it's got to hold space, because Sunrise on the Reaping comes out mid-March, right? And that is the Hunger Games, like, prequel story of Haymitch. And I am so excited for that. I have it pre-ordered on my Kobo. I want to start reading it the day it comes out. So everything that I read before that has to fit into these, like, pockets of time. So that's why I don't really want to start anything huge before that. So I read Legends and Lattes. Whatever else I read next is going to be kind of shorter and probably easier, like, as we wait for this. I pre-ordered Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, and I haven't started that one yet, even though it's already out, because I kind of have been wanting to wait. A book, however, that I did read on my Kobo that I then bought in physical form because I wanted the trophy, okay? Cackle by Rachel Harrison. Look at how much I love this book. Okay, ready? From the Library of Abbey Green. This book, I could see myself rereading this book because this is maybe my favorite book I've ever read in my life. Rachel Harrison, I was not familiar with her game, but every time I was afraid that you were going to take this down a path that I didn't want to go, you didn't go there. You went the way that I wanted you to go, and I'm so appreciative of that. Cackle follows the story of Annie Crane, and the book kind of starts the prologue on her 30th birthday, as she's preparing to move out of her apartment and out of her, like, city life to go live in a small town and start a new job. She's moving because 2 weeks before her 30th birthday, her boyfriend of 10 years pulled the, I think we're better as friends. We just don't have a spark anymore. And they broke up. And she lived with him, and now she's taking a new job and moving out. And she spends a good chunk of the book kind of talking about him with, like, rose-colored glasses, and sort of talking about how great they were together, and how easy life was together, and how much she misses him, and that sort of thing. And you do sort of get the vibe that she's talking about things with rose-colored glasses, especially because of, like, when she does talk to him, and then sort of, like, lurking him on Facebook, and that sort of thing. Like, we get the truth a little bit faster than she does, and basically the premise of the book is she moves to this town and makes this friend named Sophie. And Sophie is a witch. And I thought she was just going to be like a witch in sort of like a based in realism kind of way. No, she's more of a witch in like a magical kind of way and like a pulling stuff out of thin air type deal. She's so cool. I love her so much. Sophie, I love you so much. Wherever you are in the world right now, Sophie, I love you. And sort of throughout the book, we get to watch Annie's sort of transformation from this girl who, admittedly, like, she admits this herself, has always had a boyfriend, and her whole life has always been sort of rooted around having a boyfriend and being the relationship girl, and she kind of is very, like, life is just more simple when you have a partner, and sort of growing into her own throughout the course of the book and becoming her own person. This is what drives me insane. Okay, if you want to rile me up, talk to me about the reviews for Cackle on Goodreads. I read the reviews after I read the book, and let me just tell you, the reviews on Cackle are wild, because they're like, this girl is so whiny. She spends so much of this book whining about her boyfriend. Like, girl, get over it. That's the point. Do you not understand how a character arc works? Do you not understand how growth works? We gotta start somewhere to get somewhere. Not to mention, 90% of this book takes place over the course of, like, the first 5-6 months after she's moved away from her boyfriend of 10 years. She's allowed to be a little bit whiny. She's allowed to be a little bit heartbroken as she kind of grows and moves on. And then when we finally get to, like, the re-meet, if you will, and she comes clearer, and it's just great. It's so great. And because it's a witchy book, it's got, like, the magic in it. Every review that I read that called her, like, so whiny and so annoying. I'm like, congratulations on your, like, just congratulations on being maybe kind of a jerk. Because if you don't understand how the arc works and how the character development goes, I don't know what to tell you. I don't, like, maybe they DNF the book 20% of the way in. But I feel like if you DNF a book 20% of the way in, you shouldn't leave a review. If you read the reviews on Cackle, on Goodreads, and you read those reviews that are like, this, she's so whiny, blah, 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 ignore them. Ignore them. Ball them up, throw them away. They're lying. Well, okay, they're right, but it's not the point of the book, okay? We have all known the girl that is a boyfriend girl. She is obsessed with her man and has, like, no hobbies and no life outside of him, and it's very sad, and she should be given the space to grow into her own, and that's what this book is about. Now, what I will say is that this book is classified as a horror novel. I don't find it that scary. There's a couple of times where, like, something scary-ish happens with, like, the magic, okay? But it's not, I wouldn't classify it as, like, a horror novel. Like, in October when I read Cold Moon Over Babylon, that's a horror book. There's, like, murder. There's ghosts. There's, like, haunting and, like, ugh. That's a horror book. This is, like, there's a couple of chilling scenes sprinkled throughout. There's, like, a third of the way throughout the book, and then, like, 2 back-to-back 2/3 of the way through the book. And that's it. Okay? Like, it's not scary. So if the classification of a horror novel threw you away, unless you're petrified of spiders specifically, it's not scary. And honestly, the spiders are the good guys in this book, okay? They're Sophie's friends. She has one spider, and he's her pet, and his name is Ralph. And he's so cute, okay? I die. He wears little, like, party hats and stuff. He's so good. You have to read this book. You have to read it. And it's, like, not written in that sort of, like, very literary, very flowery, fancy language, which, like I said, I do like sometimes, but I also appreciate that this feels like more akin to something that would come from my brain or someone around my age's brain, right? It's because Annie just turned 30 in this book, right? So that makes her and I like the same age. So Annie throughout this book feels like she would be my peer, right? She's not a literary genius. She's just some girl that I would know. And I would really love that about this. 100% recommend here. What have I been watching lately? If that is the question, I'm going to answer it. So something I've heard a lot of recommendations for is this documentary on Netflix called Buy Now. And it's about overconsumption, overconsumerism, that sort of thing. It is a very good documentary, and it features voices of former heads of like Adidas and Amazon, and they talk about the waste that the companies create. And there's a lot of focus on in this particular documentary about how that waste kind of never breaks down and that sort of thing. The reason I'm even bringing this documentary up, though, in this video is because I have a qualm with it. I have a problem, and I'd seen so many other people recommend this documentary and never address this, and that's kind of why I wanted to mention it, because I wanted to address it. There was a big chunk of the overconsumption, overconsumerism type story that I think was, to me at least, it was glaringly missing from this documentary. I watched the whole thing, and then movie's over, credits roll, and I'm like, they did not once talk about, like, working conditions in these factories. Not once. There was, like, a little mention of the girl from Amazon said that a friend of hers mentioned how bad the conditions were, and that was it. And I feel, as a human, that without the talk of the factories in places like China and Indonesia and the kind of hours that those people work and the kind of conditions that they work in and the pay that they make or don't make, in some cases the ages of the people in these factories, right? Because there's like kids in there. Without that piece of the puzzle, the rest of it falls flat, I think, right? Because you can say to me that 6 million tons of clothes wash up on the shores of South Africa every day. And how can I, as an individual person, ever imagine what 6 million tons of clothes is, right? I have no concept of what that is. To me, that's just a number that you pulled out of the sky, just like it's a number that I just pulled out of the sky. Is it terrible? Is it awful? Yes. And they show some of the clips of, like, I don't know where it was in the world, but they show some of the clips of, like, the clothes washing up on the shore. It's awful and it's terrible to see, but I, as an individual, can't relate to that the way I can relate to somebody going to work and the work being terrible and the work being long hours. Like, I, as a girl with a pretty good job, right? I'm very fortunate in this life, in my job and that sort of thing. But I feel like it's more easy for me to identify with the idea of someone going to work for 16 hours a day and doing this terrible labor and working their ass off and making 4 cents. Another thing that I watched on Netflix is this series, okay? So, one of my favorite true crime stories of all time, I say true crime, but there was no murder in this, okay, is that of Australian influencer Belle Gibson. If you have never heard that name before, okay, you are blessed, but I'm about to tell you some wild shit. So, Netflix just did a whole series on her, and the series is like a dramatized thing, so it's similar to, like, Inventing Anna, okay? So, Apple Cider Vinegar follows the rise of Belle Gibson, who became internet famous for claiming that she cured her brain cancer with, like, healthy eating. And I can't help but say it, like, sarcastic and ironic every time because, listen, not to blame the victim. I'm not blaming the victim at all, but I also don't understand how anybody bought it. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't understand how you can see this girl who's, like, perfectly healthy and posting pictures where she looks completely fine. And she's like, I have brain cancer. My cancer has spread to my spleen, my heart, my lungs, my kidneys. Like, I don't understand how anybody bought it. And not only did people buy her story, but, like, she wrote a book. She had this really successful recipe app that ended up, like, becoming so big online that Apple was going to have it as, like, one of the pre-installed apps on the Apple Watch. Like, she went huge. And technically it's not illegal to lie about having cancer, but she was eventually nailed for charity fraud, which so now she owes a bunch of money and she's in hiding and it's a whole thing. But, like, it's one of my favorite true crime stories because it is wild to me. Like, if you're gonna lie about having cancer, what a horrific thing to do, but, like, claiming you cured brain cancer with healthy eating is so wild. Why would you pick, like, the scariest, most serious brain cancer? Say you had, what you say, she had, like, stage 3 or something? And, like, not that any cancer is good, but why wouldn't you pick a slightly less scary cancer? I don't understand. And it also led to, like, this whole horrific thing where, like, actual cancer patients were like, Belle did it, so I can do it. And they were, like, drinking green juice and thinking it was going to cure their cancers and actually having, like, medical problems because of it's awful. But the Apple Cider Vinegar show is a very good sort of dramatized retelling of Belle's story. I don't know how much the sort of personal aspects of it are real and how much of that was dramatized or, like, made up, but basically Belle's rise in the show and fall eventually is very true to what actually happened. There's actually a really great 60 Minutes Australia interview, and it's on YouTube. You can watch it, and they recreate parts of it in the show as well, where, like, the 60 Minutes Australia host sits down with Belle and asks her some questions face to face, and that was an interesting case study, because I wonder if she has lied to herself about so many things. She actually does believe some of them now, because I think, or is she actually just delusional? Like, because sometimes I get the vibes from her that she doesn't think she's lying. Like, sometimes I get the vibes that she actually does think she has these things wrong with her that she doesn't have wrong with her. I don't know. I don't know if it's intentional, if she's just delusional. I don't know what's going on, but she's obviously lying. And she has to know she's lying to an extent, because she'll be like, oh yeah, my oncologist can send you over the documents later. Meanwhile, she doesn't even have an oncologist. So she has to know she's lying, but I don't know. She claims that she was misdiagnosed, but there was, like, never even an appointment where she could have been It's crazy. Okay? Now, in the story, in the show, there is a side character named Milla. And Milla is based on a real-life girl named Jessica Ainscough. Ainscough. I don't remember. She is a real girl who came before Belle, who actually did have cancer, who thought she cured it with, like, healthy eating and that sort of thing. She did actually have cancer and did eventually die from her cancer. So the idea is sort of that Belle saw Jessica's story and then made up her story based on Jessica's real story and then, like, turned it up a notch, right? The part that I wanted to mention about this is that in the show, Milla's alternative therapy that she goes through and kind of publicizes and makes famous is, like, green juice and coffee enemas. I'm not joking. Coffee enemas. And I was like, what did the real girl do? And I don't remember if she was doing, like, fruit juices. But what I do remember is that coffee enemas were part of the real girl's real therapy. And I don't understand, is what I'm trying to say. I don't understand how we have created this rift between the medical world and the people who don't want anything to do with it, like, that you can convince yourself to literally put coffee up your butt and somehow that's going to cure cancer. I don't understand. I can understand the mistrust of, like, big pharma, and, like, if they cured cancer, they'd lose all this money because cancer made so much money. Like, I understand. I do. I understand. But I don't understand how you can convince yourself that the alternate cure is, like, healthy eating. Because if that was the case, people wouldn't have been dying from these serious cancers this whole time, right? Because lots of people eat healthy and have eaten healthy for a gajillion years. It goes back to that old argument that I always talk about where people are like, what did they do before all this modern medicine, before we had vaccines? And it's like, well, they died. Barbara, they died. That's what happened, okay? There are so many situations and so many things in this life where I am able to put myself in someone else's shoes and see things from their perspective. It's something I really pride myself on, you know, especially as a reporter. Like, I understand so many different points of views. I cannot understand how you can convince yourself that vegetables will cure brain cancer. I don't get it, and this is why this particular crime story has always fascinated me, because of the level of fame she got to. Like, how does a normal person read that story and not just go, that's hooey? I still don't understand it. I might never understand it. The only perspective that I can maybe understand is, like, another character in the show. Her name is Lucy. She has breast cancer. She's going through chemo and radiation, and one of the... Is it chemo or one of the procedures, like, blasts a blood vessel in her heart or something, so she has to have surgery to repair it. And it's like, at that point, when you've gone through all of these traditional medical therapies and they're not working, I can see how you may, in that sort of more hopeless state of mind, grapple at anything, right? Like, this girl on YouTube has green juice, like, maybe that'll work. I get. The average person, the average supporter of Belle was not a person suffering with cancer. So I just don't understand how you can immediately go from... How you can immediately get there. I don't get it. I still don't get it. And it's really a shame that the only thing that she could be charged with is charity fraud and, like, giving her a big fine. She should be in jail. Especially if there's this one part in the show where she's, like... I don't know if she's at a children's hospital or something, but a kid with actual brain cancer falls down and has a seizure. And then, like, later she mimics that exact same seizure. I don't know if that happened in real life, but if it did happen, she should be put in jail for that alone. Because that is messed up. I recommend you watch the show and then you watch her actual 60 Minutes Australia interview. It's a wild ride. She, like, talks about how her brother has autism. And then they cut to, like, her brother and he's like, I don't have autism. Like, what? And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you about in this favorites-ish video is my obsession, is the reason I haven't been crocheting as much as I should. The reason I haven't been, crafting in general as much as I should, or reading. And it's called Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I love Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It is so much fun. I literally, like, think about it all the time. I'm at work and I'm like, wow, I wish I was playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure. I'm asleep and I'm thinking about Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It's funny because I've never really super been a Sanrio girl. I've always loved the characters, of course, but, like, I love them even more now, and now I go to the stores and I see all their, like, branded merch, and I'm like, ooh. 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 And Aggretsuko has always been one of my favorite Sanrio characters. I literally love her. I just finished a rewatch of Aggretsuko, and I'm rewatching it again, so this is, like, my third time all the way through. I just love her. She's so relatable. She's just a normal girl who works in an office, who loses her mind sometimes, but I also love all the side characters in Aggretsuko, like, because, like, even the ones that you don't think are gonna become characters that matter, they become characters that matter, and they get, like, full rounded stories like Kabe and Director Tone, and it's such a good show. If you haven't seen Aggretsuko, you should watch it. Each episode is 15 minutes long, okay? It's adorable, it's so cute. There's only 5 seasons. I didn't know that it had ended, and I'm heartbroken about it. It's so good. It's so good, and now I watched it at the same time that I'm playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure, and I'm basically just, like, a little Sanrio billboard over here. It's so goofy. It's, like, really goofy, but I just love it. I just sit here in my little cozy plant area, okay, with my Hello Kitty Island Adventure. And I watch Aggretsuko. And I have a lot of fun. Hello Kitty Island Adventure has revolutionized my life in a way that I didn't think was possible. It is so cute and so fun, and there's always things to do. There's always new things to do. I'm not playing it fast. I'm playing it slowly like you're supposed to, okay? So, like, some of my friends that play it are farther ahead than me, but I'm not doing that. I'm taking the tasks day by day. I'm playing it slowly. I'm making it last. I just unlocked Cloud Island, like, yesterday, okay? And I have friends that had it weeks ago. I like to think that I'm playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure the way God intended. Nice and slowly, and taking it day by day. And even then, I still play for like an hour and a half every day. I don't know what's wrong with me. Am I just that bad at video games? Maybe. I do love video games. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not very good at them. And anyway, I think that's everything I had on my list that I wanted to talk about in this video. Where's that? There it is. Yes, it is. Specifically, Cackle. You get nothing else from this video. Read this book. Look, it's not even very big. If you want to know anything about who I am as a person, read this book. What have you been up to since the new year started? You know me, I've been doing all the things I talked about in this video. I've been using my journal as well, which I did a cozy hobby vlog a few weeks ago where I set up the February for that month. I just set up March yesterday. I didn't make a video of that though. Like, that's what I've been doing. So what have you been doing? Have you been reading? Have you been watching shows? Do you have any recommendations for me? Any new music that I should be listening to? Because I pretty much just listened to Taylor Swift and Stevie Nicks at this point. Any book recommendations? Anything you have going on that I should know about? Please let me know in the comment section below. I love you so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!